Not every Silverado is built the same, even when they roll off the same assembly line wearing the same badge. I have watched certain model years walk into my shop again and again with the exact same expensive problems, while other model years just a few years apart from those same generations quietly rack up mileage nobody would believe without seeing the odometer themselves. Today, I am telling you which Silverado model years to avoid completely in 2026 and which 3 specific years I would put my own money on to see 300,000 miles without drama. Let us get into it. Let us start with the years you should actively avoid. In 2015 tops that list for a very specific reason. That model year sits right in the thick of GM's active fuel management lifter problem on the 5.3-liter L83 V8. The cylinder deactivation system that uses solenoid-controlled lifters to shut down 4 cylinders during light cruising. By 2015, GM had been running this system for several years, but the lifter design that was actually causing failures in the field had not yet been meaningfully revised, which means 2015 trucks sit at the peak of that failure window rather than the early growing pains or the later corrected versions. I had a customer bring in a 2015 Silverado 1500 with just under 90,000 miles, complaining about a cold start tick that came and went, and when I pulled the valve covers, 2 lifters had already collapsed with visible camshaft lobe wear underneath them. That repair ran him just over $2,600 for a full lifter and camshaft job, and he told me the truck had never missed an oil change in its life. This was not a maintenance failure, it was a design problem that GM was still working through at that exact point in production, and 2015 trucks carry that risk more heavily than the years on either side of them. The second year I steer people away from is 2019, and this one has nothing to do with the engine and everything to do with the fact that it was the very first model year of an entirely new truck platform. General Motors completely redesigned the Silverado for 2019, moving to what is internally called the T1 platform with a new frame, new body structure, and in many trims, a new 10-speed automatic transmission shared with Ford. Whenever any manufacturer launches a brand new platform, the first model year absorbs the manufacturing hiccups that get quietly fixed in the years that follow, and 2019 Silverados absorbed more than their fair share. I serviced several 2019 trucks in that first 18 months on the road with panel gaps that were visibly inconsistent from the factory, infotainment systems that froze or rebooted randomly, and a handful with early transmission hesitation complaints tied to software calibration issues in that first year 10-speed. General Motors issued several software updates addressing shift quality on that transmission, specifically because early calibrations were shifting harshly or hunting between gears under partial throttle, a problem that later model years with revised programming simply do not exhibit to the same degree. None of this means every 2019 is a bad truck, but it means you are buying into the roughest version of a brand new design rather than the sorted out version that came 2 or 3 years later. The third year on my avoid list is 2020, and the reasoning here is almost entirely about build quality rather than any single mechanical failure point. 2020 was the model year that got caught directly in the middle of COVID-related production disruptions, parts shortages, and staffing problems at GM's truck plants. I noticed a real uptick in 2020 model year trucks coming through my shop with paint defects, trim pieces that did not seat correctly, and small electrical gremlins like backup cameras that intermittently dropped out or window switches that behaved inconsistently. None of these are catastrophic failures on their own, but they are exactly the kind of scattered quality control issues you would expect from a plant running with disrupted staffing and supply chains during an unprecedented global disruption. A 2020 Silverado is not a bad truck mechanically in the way a lifter-prone 2015 is, but the odds of picking up a truck with some kind of factory assembly inconsistency go up noticeably in that specific year compared to the years directly before and after it. Now let us talk about the years that actually earn a spot in your driveway, starting with 2006, the final model year of the GMT 800 generation Silverado, before General Motors redesigned the truck for 2007 and introduced active fuel management. The 5.3-liter Vortec V8 in a 2006 Silverado runs traditional solid lifters with no cylinder deactivation system at all, which means the single most common expensive failure point on every newer Silverado simply does not exist on this engine. I still have customers bringing in 2003 through 2006 half-ton Silverados with the 5.3-liter well past 220,000 miles on original internals, needing nothing beyond routine maintenance, a water pump, and maybe an alternator along the way. One regular customer of mine has a 2006 Silverado 1500 with 268,000 miles that he uses to haul firewood and pull a small utility trailer, and outside of brakes, tires, and one set of front control arm bushings, that truck has never seen my shop for anything beyond oil changes. That generation was mechanically about as simple as full-size trucks got before the industry moved toward complexity for the sake of fuel economy numbers, and simple, in this specific case, means durable. If this kind of honest breakdown on which years to buy and which to avoid is actually useful before your next purchase, do me a favor and subscribe, because I put out videos every week comparing model years and engines that dealerships would rather you not think too hard about. The second year I would put my money on is 2013, the final model year of the GMT 900 generation before the complete platform redesign for 2014. By 2013, GM had years of real-world data on the 5.3-liter with active fuel management and had made incremental refinements to the system's oil control valves and lifter tolerances compared to the earliest AFM-equipped trucks from 2007 and 2008. I am not going to tell you 2013 trucks are entirely immune to AFM lifter issues, because the underlying design carried forward into the next generation and continued causing problems for years afterward. But in my experience across the trucks that have come through my shop, 2013 model year 5.3 liters fail at a meaningfully lower rate than the 2014 through 2016 trucks that followed them, likely because GM was still running out the last of a well-understood mature platform rather than working through the early kinks of something brand new. I have a landscaping customer running a 2013 Silverado 1500 with the 5.3 liter at 214,000 miles, still on its original transmission, with the only major repair being a water pump at around 140,000 miles. That kind of longevity on a 2013 is common enough in my shop that I recommend this specific model year regularly to buyers looking for a half-ton that will not surprise them. The third and final year I would confidently recommend is 2018, the last model year of the K2XX generation before the all-new 2019 redesign I told you to avoid earlier. By 2018, GM had years to work through the early active fuel management lifter failures that plagued 2014 and 2015 trucks, incorporating revised lifter designs and updated oil control valve components into later production. A 2018 Silverado also benefits from being the fully mature, fully debugged version of a platform that had been in production since 2014, meaning any early infotainment glitches, minor electrical issues, or assembly inconsistencies from the platform's launch had long since been resolved by the time these trucks came off the line. I have a customer with a 2018 Silverado 1500 crew cab currently sitting at 187,000 miles, who uses it to commute and tow a small camper several times a year, and his total unscheduled repair history outside of routine maintenance is a single alternator at around 160,000 miles. Buying a 2018 gets you the benefit of everything GM learned fixing that platform's early problems without stepping into the brand new, unproven complexity that came with the 2019 redesign. Here is the pattern running underneath all 6 of these picks, and it is worth understanding even if you end up looking at a year I did not specifically mention. The worst years to buy are almost always either the earliest years of a brand new design when a manufacturer is still working through problems in real time, or the years sitting at the peak of a known failure pattern, like the AFM lifter issue before revisions caught up to it. The best years to buy are almost always the final model years of a mature platform right before a full redesign, when every kink has been worked out and the manufacturer has had years to quietly fix small problems without ever announcing a recall or drawing attention to it. That pattern holds true across nearly every vehicle brand I have worked on in this business, not just Chevrolet, but it shows up especially clearly across the Silverado's model history because this truck has gone through so many well-documented mechanical eras. So if you are shopping for a Silverado in 2026 and mileage matters more to you than having the newest features, look hard at a 2006, a 2013, or a 2018 before you get talked into something with a lower odometer reading but a higher risk of walking into my shop within the first 18 months of ownership. And if you already own a 2015, a 2019, or a 2020, that does not mean your truck is doomed. It just means you should be more diligent about checking for the specific issues I described tied to each of those years, because catching them early is always cheaper than catching them late. Like this video, if it helped you think differently about your next truck purchase, subscribe for more honest breakdowns on which model years actually hold up, and I will see you in the next one. Drive safe and buy the year, not just the badge.